hopefully I can get some of my Wheel of Time Season 2 Episode 6 review filmed. I'm going to do my absolute best to make this work, and I've only got one shot. It's a nice 8-hour shot, but that's basically one shot. So fingers crossed that there's no technical issues, because that is the only thing that can go wrong at this point. Here we go.
That is the only thing that can go wrong at this point.
You cannot hurt me. Any pain a Suldam feels, her damane feels twice over. Even to death. Even to death. Even to death.
Even to death.
We're going to continue the review from this far more comfortable situation. If there's anything that I said in my review out on the boat, I will make sure to cut that in, and I apologize in advance for the sound being terrible. I know exactly how I would film it a second time so that that's not an issue, and then I could use all of that footage. But okay, we're looking at Egwene. This entire chunk of Egwene stuff with Renna is great. This is the most book accurate that they have been so far that I'm aware of, and that actually made me very happy to see that. But also the show did enhance a few things. Like, I thought that they did a few things to make this situation work for kind of what they have done in the show so far. And we'll get to that when we get to that. But like, I have very few complaints about this whole section. I have a couple of what the section does to ruin things that happen later on, but we'll get to that when we get to that as well. So it starts out with Egwene being dragged into her cell by her Suldam, and she's now we're referring to as a damane. I like that she's being dragged in by her neck. Obviously, they must have had some sort of a harness to make this work, or they practiced where the actress would hold on to it. I mean, I like this. She looks like she's actually being dragged by her neck, which is good. I mean, by the chain that's attached to her neck. So Egwene stands up and tries to punch her Suldam.
You cannot hurt me. Any pain a Suldam feels, her damane feels twice over. Even to death.
The first lesson.
The nice thing about this part in the book is that we always wondered, how the hell is Egwene going to get out of this situation? Because the rules are extensive. Let's just go over them now. We're going to be skipping ahead a few scenes to make sure that we get all of them out and you can hear what they are.
Now, I wrote these down, but in no particular order, and some of them I had to kind of derive from the information that was given to us through the show. So these are the rules of the ADOM according to Amazon's Wheel of Time show, from what I can see.
These facts should be very pleasing. Just relax your body and be open to the facts.
Number 1, any pain a Suldam feels, her damane feels twice over, even to death. Number 2, a damane cannot remove or even touch the ADOM while she is wearing it, not without unbelievable pain. Number 3, when the Suldam is not wearing the cuff or controller of the ADOM, her damane cannot touch it without being incapacitated by pain and nausea. Number 4, a damane cannot channel except by the will of her Suldam, which a Suldam can force her to do and to stop at any time. Number 5, a Suldam can inflict crippling pain on her damane at will. Number 6, a damane cannot touch anything she believes to be a weapon. That thought must be completely obliterated from her mind in order for the damane to come into contact with anything.
Please try to enjoy each fact equally and not show preference for any over the others.
Why would you set out all of these rules and then not use them in some way, some clever way in the plot? At a certain level in fantasy, we treat it much like how we treat science fiction. we expect that these rules are going to be adhered to in the rest of the story. And if they're not, we feel cheated. And it's for exactly this reason. It's like solving the mystery. When I was reading this section in the book, I had no idea how Egwene was going to get out of this situation. So I was like, wow, there's no way for her to get out of this unless her Soldom literally says, okay, I'm going to set you free. And you definitely couldn't see that happening. Now, granted, I wasn't totally satisfied with what Robert Jordan did in the book. I felt like there maybe could have been a more clever answer. Honestly, I don't know what it is, but I feel like if I got 10 people to brainstorm with me, we could probably think of a more clever way for Egwene to eventually get out of this collar. But what they do in the show is completely unacceptable. It breaks one of these rules, and this is just like, you were doing something so great here, and then you just blew it. Well, they blow it in the finale, but either way, you can't watch this scene again without getting upset that they don't follow these rules all the way to the end.
Next, we have what I think was supposed to be Egwene trying to channel, and then when she can't, she tries to tear at the collar around her neck, the Adam. And Renna says, that's your second lesson. The Adam cannot be removed, not by you.
I am Renna. What's your name? You know, many Soldam disagree, but I believe in cultivating a friendship between Soldam and damane. What's your name? I will have to hurt you until you tell me, so it would be easier if you just told me. Egwene. Well, that's almost nice. I see no reason not to let you keep it.
And I love the underhanded insult that Renna gives, saying like, Egwene, that almost sounds nice. Like, it's not nice, but it almost sounds nice. Both actresses really impressed me in this particular chunk. I thought that the actress who plays Egwene, she's going in 110%, and I'm all for a good performance from an actor. And I liked what they did with Renna. And I don't know if this is a choice on the part of the director or the writers or the actress herself, but she's using a very gentle, soft tone with Egwene, despite being extremely abusive and demeaning. This is like an auditory and visual way for the audience to feel extra hatred towards her. If you read Harry Potter or watched the movies, I think you might understand what I'm talking about, because most of us had the same feeling. We hated Professor Umbridge more than we hated Voldemort and Professor Snape and pretty much all the other villains. And it was because she had this sweet softness to the way that she would say things, and yet she was so vicious. And I think it's maybe there's like a betrayal involved where, you know, this is what you associate kindness with. So it's like a hypocrisy, a dishonesty, or it's like I am delivering pain and abuse with something that should be taken as, you know, compassion and love. And we're seeing that in the performance of this actress. That's something I do not recall being in the book. I do recall her treating Egwene like, you know, patting her on the head and giving her treats like, you know, she's a good dog. But that wasn't quite the same as what's happening here, because this is somebody who is talking to her like she's almost a human being, almost a person. I don't want to hurt you, but you know, I'm going to unless you do what I say, so don't make me hurt you. It has that feel to it. I like that. To me, it makes me hate her more. I hate Renna more in the show than I did in the book. Although that might be because I'm not super attached to Egwene either. I would say how much you hate the villain, the person inflicting the abuse, it's relative to how much you like the person being abused. So if you're neutral about this character and they're being abused, you kind of go like, oh, that sucks. Like, I don't like this character, this other bad guy, but you know, whatever. But if you really like this character that's being abused, you'll really hate the one inflicting the abuse. Note to writers. And Renna hangs up her cuff, which is kind of like the controller of the Adam in this case, hangs it on a hook in her cell and walks out. And of course, Egwene immediately goes for the cuff and is repulsed by it. You see her in anguish and pain. She collapses and pukes. This is a collapse and puke episode, because we have Rand doing that too. And Egwene is left alone in her cell awaiting whatever training is going to be coming up. No complaints about what we saw. I really liked this. It was great. It's unfortunate that when we take other episodes into consideration, it's terrible. Before we continue, please like, subscribe, and comment, even if it's just with an emoji. It's a free way for you to support the channel, and for me, it might bring in some money from all the commercials they keep putting on my videos. Or if you're feeling super generous, check out my Patreon or Ko-fi. I've got links in the description. Or you can hit the money heart thanks button down below. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, the next scene has a bit of an intro from Loyal. So Loyal and Ingtar are servants at this point, or slaves, in the Seanchan occupation. And they're talking about Egwene.
We will find a way to get to her.
Well, they call it the kennels.
There is steel underneath that sweet exterior. If anyone can survive that place, it's her.
I'm not 100% sure how Loyal came to this conclusion about Egwene, because he's not been around when she's done amazing things. But see, this is a problem when you have a character who is integral in the books and he's part of all of that. I could have seen him coming to a conclusion like this because he's part of the gang. He has seen all this stuff. He has been discussing these things with all of them. He's part of the group. But at this point in the show, he's just the guy who turned up in Tar Valon and then brought them through the ways, and then he was hanging out with Perrin. So he's not really part of the group all that much. It's just weird. That's me being very nitpicky about this, but it's something that I would mention to a writer. You need to have Loyal talking and have personal conversations with Egwene, or have him present when she does these things, or when she says things that are brave, something that would make it make sense that he's the one saying this. Or I just wouldn't have him say this. That'd probably be the easiest solution. I would maybe have him concerned about her. So yeah, that leads us to the scene with Egwene where she's sitting in her cell and there's this pitcher of water in the cell with her, and Renna walks in and Egwene grabs the pitcher, smashes it over Renna's head, and then proceeds to beat the living crap out of her. Not just knock you out and I run. She's there to kill Renna. And it turns out to be a fake out. Normally I'm against this sort of scene, but in this case it was used well because they needed some sort of a visual in order to convey what's going on in her head, like what is the state of Egwene's mind as she goes through her transformation of being brainwashed, essentially. The show is using it for those two purposes. One, to show us how Egwene feels, which I'm less a fan of, shouldn't have to do this, but their second reason for using it does make sense, and that is to show us her mental state, to give us a visual reference, a visual measuring tool, so we can see what her state of mind is, and that will become clear as we go through this. So then back in reality, the real Renna walks in and Egwene attempts to recreate her daydream, but she's unable to touch the ceramic jug, and she's repulsed in extreme agony and pain, falls over, doubles over, whatever, you get it. And I like that Renna is completely unfazed by this. She's not even watching Egwene. She's like walking in the room, picks up her little cuff thing off of the hook while Egwene is like dying over in the corner, well, not dying, but suffering, attempting to kill her.
A damane cannot touch any object she believes to be a weapon, not while she wears the Adam. You will wear this for the rest of your life, however long that may be.
So the first time you watch this, that's kind of what it looks like, oh, you poor helpless thing. But when you watch it the second time, or if you read it the second time, and you know that actually Renna knows that she can channel a little bit, it's like her dark secret, it makes this look as though you are meant to look at what she is experiencing, watching what Egwene's going through, and realize that this could be her experience. So it's very good. I mean, again, I have to applaud the writers where they have done something right, and this is one of those instances where they have done something right. So, well done.
We have to analyze why we're doing so well, and then give credit where credit is due.
Credit where credit is due.
Credit where credit is due.
We do?
We do.
Says who?
Says me.
This is a rewatchable scene. If you have not read the books or seen the show all the way through, you could watch this a second time and it means something different because of the actress's performance and her blocking. it's a totally different experience the second time around. That's what I really like. So when you watch it the first time, you're thinking it's her weird way of like feeling sorry for the damane, the people who, well, the non-people in her mind. But the second time you view this, you could see this as possibly Renna seeing herself in Egwene's position, because, spoilers, the Suldam can channel. It's just they can channel very weakly, and they are aware of it. It's just this like hidden thing that they all keep a secret because they don't want to be put in one of these collars. So Renna could be saying this, and the look, the sort of distant look in her eye as she is being compassionate or piteous in this, she's being piteous in this, she could be thinking, if it could be me in this situation. That's a nice, complex situation and performance. Well done to the writers, directors, performer, the actresses, because they did a good job on that.
Wasn't that bad at all.
Egwene tries to punch Renna again, and of course it rebounds. I mean, you gotta be a complete idiot to fall for it at that point. Like, just, have you not learned your lesson?
It's hard, I'm sure, to have grown up thinking that you were a person only to realize that you were a damane instead. But you cannot fight what you are, Egwene.
If there was one line I would delete from this entire episode, well, the encounters between these two characters in this entire episode, it would be this one.
But you cannot fight what you are, Egwene.
Just that bit. Everything else that she said is okay, but that little bit there, because that is counter to what would make the rest of everything else that she said so rewatchable. Because this, to me, is her essentially saying, you can't run away from what you really are. You are that. Wouldn't that be what she'd be thinking about herself? I mean, it just cut that line. I would strongly, strongly recommend cut that one line. You don't even really need it. She just needs to say, I understand it must be so hard to have grown up thinking that you're a person only to realize that you're a damane. Just leave it at that. That's powerful enough as it is, and it's rewatchable and understandable. We could maybe even have a small moment where we see her almost like reaching that level of compassion, or like maybe even self-disgust, or feeling it, something in herself before she stops herself and just walks out. Like, that would be great. I mean, this was not like a huge, horrible thing to put in there, but I just would have cut it because it's the one line that would make her into like a major, major hypocrite. But I would expect somebody who's at that level of hypocrisy to be that way throughout everything, like all of her encounter. Like, there would not be compassion. Like, she has to assert her denial of the truth. And you wouldn't have compassion or show compassion and things like that if you were at that level.
Now, pour me a glass of water.
I would have said cup, by the way, because this is a cup made out of clay, so it's not a glass, but whatever. This is where the dynamic between damane and Suldam becomes a point of interest outside of just this is a slave and the slave driver, because they do some very nice, interesting things with it, with Egwene, that I don't recall being done in the book. If I have forgotten this, let me know. I may have forgotten because I listened to this on audiobook. So yeah, we're gonna get into how it's interesting, but I do want to mention here. So Egwene tries to reach for the pitcher, but we see a flash of her remembering what her daydream was, that she would grab the pitcher and smash it over Renna's head. So that is the clue to the audience of what her mental state is at this point. She still wants to hurt Renna with this pitcher. She still thinks that she could do it, or there's that desire in her to do it.
We will do no more training until you can accomplish this simple task. You must look at that picture and realize that you can't hurt me with it. You will never be able to hurt me.
And it's difficult to tell if she's upset because she's upset that Egwene doesn't like her, or if it's because she's upset that Egwene is taking so long to train properly. I would say it comes across more as the former, like that she's upset that Egwene still wants to hurt her. But some of the other stuff in the writing indicated that she likes that.
You're strong and spirited. I can feel your power in the Adam even now. They say the strongest damane are the hardest to break.
It's like a very understated excitement that she's got this super powerful damane now, and like how awesome that's going to be for her. I like all that. She leaves, and Egwene gets up and looks out through the bars of her cell, and we just see the exterior of what they call the kennels, what the Seanchan call the kennels. It's the Suldam are coming and going with their damane, taking them out to go do work or whatever and bring them back. The next scene is when Egwene wakes up from that dream where she met Rand, which was one of those encounters in the dream world. So she really did talk to Rand, but all she said was, "Is that really you?" And then he disappeared.
Rand? Pull yourself together. I'm losing it. Come on. Pull yourself together.
When I was reading this, I could not for the life of me think of any loophole or way for her to get out of this situation. In the book, she basically gets rescued from it by somebody on the outside, which is great. But that's not what they do in the show, which we will talk about more when we get to it. If the show had not screwed up in the final episode of season 2, this would all feel awesome. This would feel, I mean, she's sitting here telling herself, like, don't lose it. Don't, keep yourself together. Pull yourself together. And I would be on board with that, knowing that she's trying to keep her sanity and keep herself in reality, or her reality. The unfortunate thing is her reality has changed because she now has this new rule imposed upon her. And it's a natural rule for this fantasy world. You have this collar on. You cannot touch that picture until you believe in your soul that you can't hurt anybody with it. That basically she needs to be fully brainwashed. So any attempt on her part to keep herself fighting is literally preventing her from being able to do this. So when she does finally break, you're like, oh, dang, she's been fully brainwashed. Like, she is totally out there. She believes she is stuck in this situation forever and has no desire to do this anymore.
Hello? I can't hear you. Hello? Hello? Like light. Do you know where we are?
A damane cannot touch anything.
No, we are not damane. Can you tell me where we are, please? What about your name? I'm Egwene.
Whatever part the Suldam feels, the damane feels twice over.
This is a good moment for 2 reasons. First of all, it emphasizes her being alone. She doesn't have a fellow damane in the cell next door that she can commiserate with or, see as her comrade. This person's gone already. So it sort of amplifies her aloneness, because if there was somebody in that cell next to her in the exact same situation, it might have given her some more strength. But she's really in this alone because somebody who she should be connecting with is non-responsive. The actress who plays Egwene does a great job. She's really killing it in this whole episode. And the second thing that this scene is doing is it's called breathing. And I'm hoping to put a video about this out soon. But this is what is meant by letting a story breathe. It is taking a character's current situation and allowing them to exist in that situation for a little bit, where the situation does not change.
Well, you just ain't very bright, are you?
I would cut this as well, because it makes Egwene look kind of stupid. She should have been doing something different to try to get it off. Like, maybe she's using a prop to try to pull, I don't know, something. We've already seen her try to take it off and it didn't work. So why is she doing it here? Like, it hurt her the first time. It should be hurting her here again. And then Renna comes in and says what we have just witnessed for the second time.
You can't remove it. You can't even touch it without unbelievable pain. You know this.
It was just redundant. Yeah, if you wanted to have a scene like this introduce us into the next bit, have her doing something different, something slightly different.
Do you want to know who created the Adam?
A monster.
She was a sister of your White Tower.
Aes Sedai don't have slaves.
What did you do as a novice?
And this is the juicy stuff. This is the best part of season 2, I think, so far. So Renna starts playing with Egwene's mind. And I could watch this sort of thing nonstop. I've mentioned it about other characters in this episode that I could see two people trying to manipulate each other all the time. This is so interesting to watch because what we saw in the book was Egwene wanted to see what the limits of her power is. Like, she is always wanting to learn more and like take her power to the next level. In the show, they're like, she doesn't have power and then suddenly she does. And she was frustrated that she couldn't do it and now she can. That's totally different from like, hey, I've got this talent and now I'm going to try and make it bigger. Like, I did that. What else can I do? You know, that's a totally different mindset. But this is great as an adaptation of the book, because what we have is Renna showing Egwene, like, I can take your power with me. Being a damane, your power will go so far beyond what the Aes Sedai ever would have allowed it to be. That would have been very tempting to Egwene in the book. In the show, it just doesn't make any sense. Whatever. I think I've conveyed my frustration with this bit. Maybe I have more complaints about all of this than I said. You know, I liked this because it was what I wanted in the adaptation of the book. They took something and actually enhanced it. I don't recall Renna having this conversation with Egwene in the book. Was she even named Renna in the book? I can't remember. But anyway.
They want to curb your power, you know that. To waste your life on parlor tricks.
We, Seanchan, want you to use your power to the fullest extent, the way you were born to.
No woman can have power with a collar on her neck.
Oh, Egwene, you are not a woman.
And then Renna throws in,
You are a damane, and a powerful one. I hope they told you at your White Tower just how special you are.
I like this. You know, the thing is, she's always wanted is to be recognized as special. And then she's going to show her what she can do with her power as a damane. I really love also the actress playing Egwene shows this like weird surprise and like hesitation, and there's a good use of facial expressions, very subtle, when she hears that compliment, when she is given that praise and told, "You are so special." And gosh, I hope that the Aes Sedai told you about that. Did they ever tell you about that? And she has to, because of the way she's been behaving in the show, like, no, they never said I'm special. They told Nynaeve she's special, and I was standing there. When is it going to be my turn?
Come with me.
See? Feels better when we are complete, doesn't it?
And you can see that feeling is good. And this I don't think has been addressed in the show yet, but in the book it is talked about. Channeling feels amazing. It's like doing a drug. This is why men who channel keep wanting to channel more, even though they know it's going to drive them insane. It's like it's hard to make yourself stop because it feels so good. This is why women who are, I forget what they're called, wilders or something. I don't remember what they're called, but women who are not part of the White Tower are considered dangerous because they might not even know that it's so dangerous to channel that they could literally burn themselves out and kill other people around them because it feels so great. But when you're trained and it's done in a controlled environment, you're essentially told that, like, look, this could kill you if you take it too far. So no matter how good it feels, you've got to stop at some point. And so they're actually addressing that here. But I have to wonder, would people have picked up on that it feels good without being a damane? Because if I was watching the show, because I don't think that they have, if I was watching the show, I would think that there was something special about the way that the Seanchan attach the damane to the sul'dam, and I would have been like, this is different. The channeling going on here is very different from the channeling going on with the Aes Sedai in the rest of the world, because this collar creates pleasure when you channel. That's what it looks like is happening here. So I would have told the writers, because usually you want to see the whole story before you go back. I would have told them back in season 1, you need to show that it feels good. You need to have somebody giving that warning. I know that it feels good, that it feels complete, but like it helps you to feel that way, but you can't do that. The only time I think we saw that was when, I forgot what her name was, but it was the Goku lady.
What you're seeing now is my normal state. This is a Super Saiyan.
I can feel the whole world. Left, right, wrath, and gust, and stone, and life. Everything.
And the thing with Goku lady is I kind of thought she had reached like super mega Saiyan, and like that's why she was experiencing this. Like that's something that you can only experience when you get to that extreme level, the point where you're literally burning other people out. But if it's something that happens every time you channel, that should have been conveyed. So I would have told them in season 1 you need to do that, or if it was too late and season 1 was already out, I'd be like, you can't do that here, sorry. It's kind of pretending that there was a rule in place that you have not put in place. We need to make sure that in Egwene's lessons with her teachers, that the teacher or somebody says, it feels good. This is gonna be like a moment of ecstasy for you, but you need to have the self-control to stop it. It's a simple fix, if you look at it that way. That's all you have to do. Just have one line, one character say one line. That's the easy way to do it, but that's a way to do it.
Look to the tree, Egwene. I know it brings you comfort. Reach out to it. Search for its roots. You found them. Good. Now keep going. Through the roots. Let it grow warmer and warmer in your mind. Make it so hot it begins to steam. Now turn that steam into fire.
And I think I would have been upset about the tree burning. Like, that's the only tree in that courtyard that I can see. I'm sure that there were other Seanchan who enjoyed the fact that there was a tree there creating shade, so that when they were out in the courtyard, they could sit under that tree and enjoy the shade, but whatever.
Well, I woke up to go get me a cold pop, and then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I ran for my life, and then the smoke got me. I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I'm being petty now, but whatever. I do think that this Renna character is a much better teacher than some of the other Aes Sedai that we have seen teaching Egwene at this point. Not that Egwene was the greatest student, but...
That's how it's supposed to feel. This is the power we are meant to wield, Egwene. Did you feel it? Our affinity?
Again, a very nice expression on Egwene's face at realizing that she did feel the affinity between her and Renna. This is all good. It's good. It's good. But it's wasted because of things that happened before and things that will happen after this.
Pour yourself some water. You deserve it. Pour the water, Egwene.
And of course, Egwene is unable to do so. She buckles over in pain. And then we see some very interesting facial expressions on Renna. First, she is disappointed and upset, and then she's kicking the crap out of Egwene in anger. And then we see again almost that flicker of sorrow for having to do this that might be translated as, oh yeah, this could have been me. Like, is it compassion? It's very nice. It's complex. I like it.
Now, I greatly enjoy this dynamic between Renna and Egwene. I could watch an entire season of just the two of them, but you would have to use every single scene to progress their relationship in some way, to have one of them getting the upper edge on the other. And I don't think that the writers know how to do that. Even in just this one episode, it seems like they did the bare minimum with them per scene. It wasn't the worst. Honestly, this was some of the best writing that they have had in the entire show up until now. But I do feel that, I don't know, there was more of an opportunity to create tension between these two. Like, they could have had Egwene trying to manipulate Renna. That would have been a thing that they could change from the books that I would have been behind. Like, maybe she's trying to get Renna to feel sorry for her in some way, but instead she's defiant to the end, which does stick with her character. It's just, if you're gonna spend this much time with the two of them, why not increase the kinds of things that we do with them? Maybe she tries to manipulate Renna but discovers it's impossible, so we lose all sense of compassion for Renna in this way, because they have been spending some time building up what appears to be a sense of empathy towards Egwene from Renna. So we, the audience, see that there is some humanity in her. Well, it's a little bit, but it's something, right?
We then get a very brief scene of Egwene in her cell, and it's a bit of a, I think you would call this a montage or a time lapse of Egwene pacing in her cell. We see her walking around this picture but not reaching for it. So we know that a lot of time has gone by. It doesn't seem, though, by the rest of the episode that a whole lot of time has gone by. And this is something I really wish that the show would have done. I would have wanted an entire season of Egwene getting brainwashed, like put her in this jail cell most of the season, and then she's rescued at the end or whatever they decide to do, which, no, don't do what they decide to do, but you know what I mean. Because I didn't see that she was in this situation for very long. Like, she looks like she's been in there for like 3 days so far, maybe less. And this montage or time lapse, I think, is supposed to indicate that she's gone from that moment where she channeled and burned the tree down to the next scene, and like a lot of time has passed because she's at the end of this really dehydrated. Like, oh my gosh, she has gone for a very long amount of time with no water or any sustenance of any kind. And the rest of the episode makes it look like only 1 day has gone by. Like, literally since she got captured and dragged into the cell to the finale, it looks like 1 day has gone by, possibly 2. And that's just bad editing, I think. Which also bad writing if it was written that way. But I don't like that. And it's not just because I wanted more of her in the cell, but it does give the impression she's not in there very long. Like, she should have been in that cell, even if not a whole lot of progress is made, for a couple of episodes, for several episodes. Let's see that it took a lot to actually brainwash her. By comparison, in Game of Thrones, Theon Greyjoy is tortured for a whole season. A whole season, just the torture bit. And then the part where he is kept as a servant because he's been fully brainwashed by Ramsay, that's in another season. That's a whole other season. Like, that was a lot of time. How many, was it like 8 or 9 episodes per season in that show? They literally took an entire season just to brainwash him. And here they take 1 episode. If you've got too much story to do in 1 season, you gotta really do some major cuts. Like, huge side plots need to be cut. Things that aren't important need to go. And you definitely shouldn't be adding stuff. You shouldn't be adding stuff that's not essential to the main plot, which is what they do. But now I'm complaining again. I'm complaining more than I thought I would be in this review. The rest of the episode makes it look like not much time has gone by because Nynaeve and Elaine were already in this apartment with the yellow Aja lady at the beginning of the episode, and they're still in it at the end. Like, 2 days has gone by. If they wanted to indicate that more days had gone by, they should have been wearing different clothes. They should have had these people, the yellow Aja lady and her warder, bringing them different things to wear. We should have shown that they were sitting there having meals, that they had their own beds. That they didn't do that. It's been 1 day. It looks like it's been 1 day. Cutting in just one last time, I have to give a big thank you to 2 separate parties. The first is Kenai Fjords Tours. So they're a tour company based out of the port town of Seward on the peninsula in Alaska. And they take folks on excursions through Resurrection Bay and the Kenai Fjords. And it was amazing. We got to see these stunningly beautiful mountains, these huge glaciers, and tons of wildlife. We even had some porpoises come and like swim on our wake. It was so cool. I was too busy looking at the porpoises to bother with my camera, so I've included some footage that somebody else shot with the same tour company in the same area. I hope they don't mind I'm using this footage. It was a very comfortable cruise. We all hung out inside this really cozy 2-decker cabin with 360-degree views while we were jetting between locations. And our captain was so knowledgeable and so funny, and he kept us all entertained telling us about the geology and the biology and the history of everything that we passed. We were all cracking up and having a great time. And every once in a while, the other passengers could look out to the aft deck and they would see a crazy person filming a rant review in the wind and rain. I mean, I wasn't going to do it while we were stopped to look at something, because I wanted to see the stuff too. I've put a link to the Kenai Fjords tour website in the description, so if you're ever planning a trip to the Alaskan Peninsula, you should definitely check them out. And my second thank you goes to the anonymous person who got me onto that tour for free. I had the best time, and I would totally do it again. Thank you so much. I will never forget how much fun it was. Yeah, Renna comes in the next scene, which is the final scene, and I like that it's cut with Egwene. Egwene's spirit is being broken, although they blow it at the end a little bit, which I'll tell you guys when we get to it. It's being cut back and forth between that and the Yellow Aja lady losing her battle against the Suldam and damane that attack her. That's thematically it works. I like that. But Egwene looks like she can't stand. Her lips are all chapped, so she's super, super dehydrated, more so than she was in the last scene. So they're playing this episode with Egwene out as if it has happened over what I wonder if it was supposed to be something that they didn't show all in one episode, like if this was supposed to start in the previous episode or maybe be stretched out into the next one, because that would have given a greater impression of more time passage. It's just bad editing or writing if it was written that way. Egwene gets up, goes for the picture, but still can't touch it. In the next cut, which I didn't even notice this until I was watching these cuts back to back, as opposed to the way that they are edited together with the scenes of the Yellow Aja lady having her battle. Egwene is refusing to even attempt to touch the picture. I think this could have been done a little better. Like, I could not pick that up, except when I rearranged the scenes myself. But she's refusing to even touch the picture, so Renna uses her remote control or whatever, her cuff, you get it. She causes Egwene extreme pain. Like, basically, you're gonna at least try to touch the picture or I'm going to torture you until you do. Which I like that. Next cut, you've got Renna still telling her pour the water, and it still looks like Egwene is not gonna do it. So Renna grabs her by the collar and lifts her up and hangs her up on a hook, which I like that. She's healthy and strong, and Egwene is starving and like a waif basically at this point, and can just like, nope, you're gonna hang there until you come to your senses. I like this stuff. I mean, I'm not a sadist or anything, but there's nothing quite as wonderful as watching a character suffer and you're like, oh, they're gonna get out of it and they're gonna make this other person suffer too, but it's so unfortunate that you don't get that. We're not delivered that satisfaction at the end of this series. I realize the irony of what they do, like that they basically reverse their roles at the end, but you did it by breaking the rules. So it completely destroys any satisfaction that there should have been, because we're going, wait a minute, what about the rules? We're not going, oh, she hung her up too, just like she did to her before. Egwene is being strangled as she hangs, and then we get this nice little description of what should be for Egwene from Renna. I like this. This whole little bit of dialogue here is really good.
Nothing exists outside the cell for you, Egwene. Nothing outside this door, beyond these stones. Nothing except this pitcher and my empty cup. My cup. That's the size of your world, Egwene. That's it. Pour the water, That's Egwene. The size of your world. That's the size of your world. It will never be a weapon. You can never hurt me. You will never leave me. Pour.
And with a trembling lip, Egwene reaches for the pitcher and is able to touch it. She raises it up and pours a cup of water for her Suldam. I don't know what this trembling lip thing is, but every actress in this show does it.
Oh, please, Mother, don't do the lip thing.
But it is a nice scene. We see that Egwene is broken. The actress is crying and doing a very nice job at selling she's done. She did not get a flash in her mind of, pummeling Renna with this pitcher. She was able to just grab it and lift it and pour it. It's like she's now mourning her situation. This is nice. I like this. I wish it didn't happen so easily and quickly. And it's so sweet that Renna just turns the glass and dumps the water out. Something that was so meaningful and significant to Egwene. And then just watching Renna turn her hand and pour the water out onto the ground like it was nothing to her. I like that. That's great. Now, that's again back to that Professor Umbridge, except this is a different kind of cruelty. This is, you mean nothing to me. The things that mean everything to you are garbage to me.
Good girl.
We pan over and see who is in the cell next to her, the woman who was reciting the rules of the damane over and over again. And yep, she's a sitter of the Blue Aja. It's the same woman who was telling Moraine, they were in the steam baths together, and she's like, yeah, there's been some trouble on the coast, and I'm gonna go check it out. So this is what happened to her. And this is the friend of the woman who's with Nynaeve and Elaine, or was, because at this point now she has been collared too. Would have been kind of interesting to see the two of them meet. But then again, that would have been a waste. We don't need to see that. We don't need to spend time on stuff that is unessential to the main plot. When you have so much plot to adapt, you don't take time to explore things that are unnecessary to that main plot. And that would be a thing. That would be one of the things.
You lasted longer than I did, child. And I was a sitter of the Blue Aja.
Now, I have to hand it to both of the actresses in these scenes because they did their job very well. I'm enjoying Egwene's performance, I am enjoying Renna's performance, and both of them really are adding a lot to it with their facial expressions. I would say the one instance where I have a question as to, I'm not sure what the motivation is and in this very last scene with Egwene, when she realizes that the woman in the cell next to her was a sitter of the Blue Aja, she has this look of determination. When she had just broken down in agony, crying over her mental loss, because by taking hold of that pitcher and being able to drink from it, she realized she truly believed she could not get out of this situation. So what exactly is going on in her mind with that final shot? And I wish that there was a little bit more clarification, like maybe anytime that we have Egwene not in the presence of her damane, she switches her brain into, okay, this is where I need to collect myself and regather my strength. But then she has to kind of compartmentalize that whenever she is around Renna. It's a very interesting dynamic. And honestly, if the entire season was just Egwene with her damane and this very difficult relationship that they're in with each other, I would probably really enjoy that. Maybe I'd love to see Egwene trying to play psychological games with Renna. I mean, you could write an entire book just about this relationship. It's so fascinating, both of them trying to manipulate each other. I would love to read that story.
My tastes are very singular. You wouldn't understand.
So that's it for Egwene. Like I said, I enjoyed the writing, I enjoyed the performances, I enjoyed all of this. I wish there was more of it, that it was stretched out, because I actually really like the mind games that get played here. I actually would have liked to have seen Egwene try to manipulate Renna, in reverse. Maybe she's recognizing some of this compassion and seeing well, maybe I can use that in some way. That would have been very Aes Sedai-like. I think that would have been kind of neat. So, okay. Done with Egwene. It's time to just push her aside. This was, like I said, liked it all, was good, but it wasn't built up to properly in many respects, and it definitely sets up the finale for being extremely dissatisfying, at least for the Egwene stuff. Yeah. Please like, subscribe, and comment, even if it's just with an emoji. It's a free way to support this channel. Or if you're feeling super generous, check out my Patreon, Ko-fi, or hit the money heart thanks button down below. Any help is very much appreciated. That's it. See you in the next one.